Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 trading. This week we are already the second last week of November. Christmas is fast approaching. Monday, November 18th to Friday the 22nd is the week in review. Looking ahead at the week coming up, we always start with our economic calendar. So we can see Monday, fairly light news events coming out. We have, other than the Australian dollar, of course, we have monetary policy meeting minutes, which are going to probably move the Australian dollar around a little bit, so keep an eye on that, and that's late in the day. Tuesday, we've got medium impact news events for the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, and then Wednesday, we have CPI high impact news events for Canadian dollar and FOMC meeting minutes for the US dollar late in the day on Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to be probably a longer day in terms of the range, in terms of where it makes its highs and lows. So just keep that in mind if you are trading Wednesday. Going into Thursday, we have the ECB monetary policy meeting accounts, Philly Fed, and the Bank of Canada Governor Poles is speaking on Thursday. So the Canadian dollar should get a little bit of a movement happening on Thursday. And then going into Friday, we have a whole bunch of euro news. So keep this in mind. It's going to be pretty volatile for the euro on Friday. And I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of hold it in consolidation a little bit this week in anticipation for this, because I bet you we'll probably have some pretty large ranges on Friday. And then capping it off with more Canadian dollar retail sales and US dollar flash manufacturing. So all in all, it's a pretty decent week. News-wise, we should have lots of volatility injected into the market, and we should have a few things moving around. So let's look at the charts here quickly. I'm going to keep this short and sweet this week. Look at the US dollar. So take the data dividers off here. So you can see we've obviously still haven't got above these two highs here. We had a nice little pop up in here last week, and as I mentioned, I was looking for price to run above these areas in here. We got that. It didn't really do it, to be honest with you, as much as I thought we were going to run higher. Pretty weak sort of run up into here. I was really looking to see if we could have got up into the 98.60s level. We didn't get that last week, but nonetheless, we still had a run up into the week, and then the end of the week it saw it fall off. So we certainly have hit some resistance in here, and now I think we're one of two things. We're going to come back down into here, we're going to load up and then make one more attempt higher, or two, anything really underneath this blue line here, I believe we could see them fall under here. So if you look at that, it's kind of something like this that I'm looking at. We're either going to see one of two things happen. Price is going to come down into here, and then we can see sort of the support that it's generating from there, and then I'd be looking for that. Or if we get through this line and we have a big daily close down on like a down candle on the daily, close underneath this line, then I think there's a very good chance we could try to make the run for these lows. So, again, we'll just have to wait, watch, and see. We'll probably know by Tuesday's trading what's going to transpire. I do like how it did pop up and want to come back down one more time here, so I wouldn't mind seeing it rallying under here, and just briefly, even if it does just run below into this range down in here. I wouldn't mind seeing just a quick wick down on a rejection and then a run higher. But if, as I say, if the daily closes below this line here, then I think we need to shift our focus to a bearish standpoint on the US dollar, and then we can obviously trade accordingly from there. Keep in mind, folks, we are approaching holiday season, so don't get too crazy with your account. It's a lot of money's going to start going on the sidelines here soon. So another couple of weeks should be a fluid markets that I'm looking forward to. But going into December, I'll be posting obviously for my members only going into December, and we'll be doing a lot of commodity reviews from setting up for next year. So if you want to take a look at that, go ahead and check us out at f45trading.com. I do it every December. It's basically just a quarterly look ahead for commodities, and I do it 4 times a year. This is my annual full review in December, so it's quite a lengthy bit, and I typically drop about one video one video for each category, whether it be the softs or the grains or the metals or the indices or what have you. I'll usually do that once a week right up until Christmas, and then that takes us into the new year. So some great information there. Anyway, if we're looking for lower prices Monday, potentially Tuesday into, and again, I don't know what's going to happen when we get down to this level here, so that's what I'm waiting to watch, waiting to see transpire. I definitely think we're going to keep running lower, but after, Monday, do we hit this and then reject and go higher? Does it dip into it on Tuesday and then reject, go higher? Do we just consolidate? That's the other thing too. We could just sit here and go sideways for the rest of the year. I don't know, but I'm hoping that by Monday or Tuesday, London Open, we'll have an idea on which way this thing is going to go. So Euro USD, obviously we're looking at the same thing. Some major levels in here, and you can see I'm just going to drag this guy out here, relatively the same area as the US dollar, just sort of after the top of this consolidation range in here, the bottom of this range in here. Same thing from the euro, top of this range in here, bottom of that range in there. It's going to offer the same sort of resistance as what the US dollar is going to do. Get rid of some stuff on here. So I'll be looking to see, do we shoot up into here Monday, Tuesday, and want to continue higher, in which case we can maybe target up here if we have some serious momentum on our side. Now I do like this. You see this big down move here, had a nice retracement, taking out the highs, and I think it's a shift in market direction personally. And then you see price had come back down here to retrace back down. If you take a fib level off of this and you look at that, we have a nice confluence at this 61%, 62% retracement level, which is usually an area that they typically reverse things between there and 72%. So I like to see that. We also had another area right here where price came down just briefly right underneath that candle there and rejected. So I honestly like the narrative that way. I think we're going to probably run higher on this one, but like I say, I don't want to be too liberal with that. I want to be cautious and wait and see what we get, and I think we'll see probably here this week. So hopefully we'll get a run above this guy here, which means we'll get a run below here, but again, we'll see in a day or two. Cable, we had a little gap on cable that I wanted to show you here on the hourly. So this is Sunday's candle. At the time of this recording, it's late Sunday evening, and we had a nice little pop up into here. Going into the daily, we have price, we're now back in this consolidation range here. So you can see price has really been consolidating in here, and it's basically just sort of on the lows of these candles back in here from this old consolidation range. So it's kind of no surprise that we're starting to see a little bit of hesitation to go higher. What we're going to see here this week again is, does cable have enough mustard here to get above these highs? I'd like to see if we can start to make a run for it and a break above this guy here. And that's a nice little range as well too from where we're currently at. And if we come back down and close this little gap in, I think there's a good chance that we could see another 100 to 120 pips on the week at least to get above that high. That's what I'm looking for. And my line in the sand really on the week, guys, if price runs down below 128.40, I think we could then see maybe potentially they want to run back down under here and then maybe rebalance in this range. But so far, very bullish price action. Looks like very reminiscent of a bull flag as well too, if you look at this, and typically price will break out to the upside on something like that. Go like that. So that's kind of what we're looking for here. It's just another leg higher, and I guess we'll see this week if we want to break out of this leg or not. Again, we are trading with the UK and Brexit and everything else, so definitely there's lots that can happen. Nothing major in terms of news this week, so hopefully we won't see any big crashes or big moves, out of the ordinary, out of the blue, which cable likes to do every now and then. So hopefully we should just have trading as normal for the week, and I definitely like this thing higher. I would like to see them close this gap, so what I'd like to see them do is come up here, run back down, maybe take the lows out here and rebalance back off of the old highs in here, and then see a run higher, but it doesn't have to. We could certainly not come all the way down here, but I would like to see a closure of this gap, and then possibly a run above this high and maybe that high there, as I said, at 130, about 130.10 is that, so it'd be a target of about 130.20. So again, about 100 and 20 pips, 130 pips higher is sort of what I'm looking for on the week. EURGBP, we had that nice breakdown here last week that I was talking, whoops, I'm sorry, let me get to the right chart. We had that nice breakdown on EURGBP that I mentioned to you last week. So we saw price start to drift. It didn't really do it with a lot of conviction. It sort of just kind of put a leg down here and then kind of an equal low and then another equal low, and then Thursday of last week we kind of swept those lows, and then Friday we kind of had a bit of an up day, and so it's kind of not going anywhere. Ultimately, I want to see if they can get down underneath here and make a low for 2019 on EURGBP. If we get those, then we should see this big push up into here easily with pound dollar, and maybe even try to run above in here. But we'll worry about this later, though. I think for now, this is going to be the target for this week here. And EURGBP, in a week or two, I think we could see this thing start to trade lower down here. Okay. Canadian dollar, US CAD. So again, we had a nice push up higher with Thursday last week making the high of the week. We rebounded right off the low of that candle there. So obviously that low created some pretty significant resistance. There's lots of areas lower here that we could target on US CAD. We have obviously equal lows down here. We have a run here, and then we have these lows under here. So just depending on really how much the US dollar wants to drop is where US CAD will get pulled down. I honestly don't know the answer, guys, and how much we're going to see this move, because we have been stuck in this sort of stagnated range since July of this year, and it hasn't want to break out of that yet. So we'll see what we want to do. If we don't get above, if US CAD doesn't want to, whoops, come any higher than this range in here, so we could certainly do something like this where we come back up into here and then reject and go lower. I'd be looking for that, but I don't want to see it go any higher than these highs here. I think if we start running back up and run the highs from last week, then we could try and get above here. Okay, and if that happens, then again, chances are we could see this here and then this shoot higher. So just depending on what we get on the US dollar will dictate obviously what we get on US CAD. So not really going to be my focus this week. I think there's better opportunities in euro and cable this week. So my focus I think is going to be on there. And then Australian dollar, again, we have the monetary policy meeting minutes for Australian dollar. We had a big sweep below. Let me zoom in. We had a big sweep below these lows here last Thursday, and then Friday went straight back up and rejected those that run lower. So again, if we do see lower prices in the US dollar, just even down to here, you know, if US dollar wants to rebalance off of this 97.60 level, then then Australian dollar, we could get a push above these highs here. And if we get a push above those highs there, I'm not super convinced that we're going to make another leg all the way down. I think if that happens, then we could start to drive higher on US and Aussie. So I'm going to be watching after Monday to see what the monetary policy meeting minutes do. See if we get one more drop down and then a rejection and a run higher. But I think that could sort of be the leading indicator on what the US dollar may want to do. If we see Australian dollar just out of the norm pushing higher, that could mean that the US dollar is going to run lower into here. So we can plan accordingly for that. But we'll just, again, you'll have to wait and see what Monday brings. And just going to kind of discuss some levels. But we had a nice reaction right off of the lows in here, this resistance area in here, and a nice big breakdown from last week. This obviously was outlined as well too to all of our members, and there was a nice trade that was put out on Australian dollar late last week as well too, capturing the areas underneath these lows here. So there were lots of setups last week, and hopefully you guys were able to capture some of those. If you want some more detailed information on that, again, check us out at f45trading.com. Several options there, just from our chat room to the signals to live market analysis and everything in between. So finally, I'm going to wrap up. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about gold. Gold, we did just briefly manage to break out of this consolidation range in here in a nice run from 2 weeks ago. And since then, we've obviously come down and sort of been like a breakout retest from this consolidation range. We broke out, and the price took a very long time coming back down. We've retested it, and so far we've seen a bit of a reaction higher. Now, I want to see where we close on Monday. If we start closing below here, I don't believe that there's any real good chance that we're going to see higher gold for the year, and we'll probably make a leg lower, and in which case we'll probably want to rebalance underneath these lows here, which we could see the end of at the end of the year for gold coming down under here. Very possible. However, if we don't see that and price manages to stay above these two candles in here, and we start pushing up, then there is a good chance, and this is what I've been talking about here for a little while, is this area right in above here, right there. You see all these highs up in here, all this level of resistance. I believe that's where they're going to shoot up to, and I think we can target that with some fairly high degree of accuracy for the remainder of the month here for November. So again, I'll be watching to see what gold does going into Monday, Tuesday. I don't want to see it go any lower than here. I'd like to see a bounce and a continuation higher. If we do drop lower than there, then obviously we can pick and choose our targets from there, i.e. right there. Okay. That's about it. Crude oil had a bit of crude oil is just going sideways. I usually do a lot of analysis on this. Until we really start breaking out of this range here, though, I want to hold my thoughts on crude oil. As you can see, I was predicting lower prices to come a couple of weeks ago. We still haven't got that yet. I ultimately believe we're going to be down underneath these lows before the end of the year. We're coming up into an area right now where there's going to be some pretty significant resistance. See where they really consolidated heavy in this area here. I think there's a good chance that we could just see crude, and it did last week on Friday. It just shot above those two highs there, but we could just do one more drive up into here. I would be looking for one leg higher, and then we'll see if price wants to roll over. But that's about all I'm going to say right now on crude oil, just because I want some more information. So far, the past 2-3 weeks on crude oil hasn't been very much help in terms of direction. We've just kind of been slowly chopping back higher, and the last 2 weeks here have just been straight sideways. So until this breaks out of that range, then we'll just hold our opinions on crude oil until then. So hopefully this helps you guys out this week. Again, if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking down in the bottom right hand corner here. Or thumbs up on Twitter would help as well too. Share this out and spread the word if this helps you. Maybe there's some other traders out there that it might benefit from as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week for everybody on the 24th of Sunday to discuss the last week of November. Until then, I hope you guys have a great week of trading. Take care.